clergy sexual misconduct, specifically fondling. So not even the worst clergy sexual misconduct that occurs within the Catholic Church. So here she is stridently attacking the Catholics, saying what is it about Catholicism that causes, Roman Catholic priests to do this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, deleting, memory holding my comments, saying, hey, well, Unitarian Universalists have their own pretty serious clergy sexual misconduct problems too. Suppressing that truth. And if we're dealing with the same Reverend Victoria Weinstein, at the very same time that she's stridently pointing the finger at the Catholics, a member of her church has just been convicted of quite serious, or indeed probably, one of the most serious forms of rape, raping preteen girls. Basically a pedophile rapist, if it's the same Victoria. So what I did is I commented on the blog. She deleted a lot of stuff, but I just said, well, you might want to have a word with your colleague, Reverend Victoria Weinstein, about what's happening in her church. I wasn't sure that I was dealing with the same Victoria. It could have been a different one. So I just said, why don't you have a little chat with Reverend Dr. Victoria, I know she wasn't a doctor at the time, Reverend Victoria Weinstein, about what's happening in her church. Well, she deleted that, obviously. And within minutes, I received an email from Reverend Dr. Well, no, again, she wasn't a doctor at the time. I received an email within minutes of making that comment. I get an email from Reverend Victoria Weinstein saying, I don't talk about, what happens with my parishioners, and I expect you not to either. So essentially admitting that she was indeed the Victoria in question, and that she was indeed, stridently attacking the Roman Catholic Church at a time when one of her own parishioners had just been convicted of raping preteen girls, and she hadn't said boo about that. I've never seen Reverend Victoria Weinstein say anything about the fact that her parishioner, Richard Buell, was convicted of raping preteen children. In fact, I have seen her calling for prayers for Richard Buell. I've never seen her calling for prayers for his victims. So anyway, at that point, I said, that's it. This minister's gone way too far. She's already been abusive and insulting and slanderous and libelous to me and a fair number of other people. And here she is, under the cover of anonymity, stridently attacking the Roman Catholic Church, which she has a right to do, I suppose. But at the very same time, doing her best to keep Unitarian Universalist clergy sexual misconduct, out of the public eye. And I said, that's it. That's enough with Reverend Weinstein. I'd considered bringing a complaint against her earlier, but that was the last straw. I outed her. I made it very clear that, peace bang is Reverend Dr. Victoria Weinstein and vice versa, and criticized her for her behavior, and filed a formal clergy misconduct complaint against her for her insulting and defamatory attacks on me and other people. And the upshot was that the Unitarian Universalist Association, specifically Reverend Dr. Tracy Robinson Harris and Reverend Beth Miller, ruled that, because she's blogging under the cover of anonymity, this makes her blog posts outside of her role as a Unitarian Universalist minister. Therefore, we're not doing anything. No, it's basically pretending that they had no responsibility for her behavior because she was blogging anonymously rather than under her name, even though she clearly identified herself as a Unitarian Universalist minister on the profile of her blog. She claimed to be a Unitarian Universalist, or a pastor, I think. She's a small town pastor of a historic Unitarian Universalist church. So clearly identifying herself as a Unitarian Universalist minister. And yet, because her actual real name was not directly associated with her pseudonym, the UUA used that as an excuse to do absolutely nothing about her bullying. You know, there's really no question that if you look at some of the things Peace Bang has posted to the web, that it constitutes, you know, what some would call cyberbullying. She has insulted and defamed quite a number of people. You know, some of her invective is even, you know, sadistic, one could say. Talking about kicking people in the teeth, talking about anally impaling people on Statue of Liberty's torch, talking about elbowing people in the teeth. That's quite recent, actually. That's actually just within the last month or so, maybe certainly within the last 2 months. Reverend Dr. Victoria Weinstein got all strident about Joe Biden's caressing of another person's wife, which, you know, is open to some question. You know, his behavior can be questioned. I don't say it isn't questionable. On the other hand, it's quite possible that you know, he knows this person well and he knows her husband well, and he's just being affectionate, and nothing more than that. But nonetheless, you know, everyone got on their high horse about Joe Biden basically rubbing the shoulders and arms of a you know, colleague's wife in a public situation, and you know, Reverend Victoria Weinstein's response was to tweet about, you know, how if Joe Biden did that to her, she would elbow him in the dentures. You know, she specifically used the term dentures. You know, again, you know, just more, you know, blogged verbal violence from Reverend Dr. Victoria Weinstein within the last month or two. So it seems she hasn't really learned a lot from my protests against her, you know, violent and sadistic and obscene postings, you know, of earlier times. We're more or less done here. We'll wrap up this little protest. Been going for about an hour and a half or so. And had a nice little chat with the president of the church, John Inder, earlier. Unfortunately, I didn't notice that the time ran out. So basically a segment of what I was recording did not actually get recorded because the time ran out, and I had, you know, when I did notice it wasn't recording, I did restart it, so I got the tail end of our conversation. But yeah, we're going to wrap this up, and I think we've had a quite successful little peaceful public protest today, and we shall see what comes of it. But anyway, the police did pass by earlier. As I said, it was not clear whether it was related to my protest or not. Could have just been a routine patrol or whatever. In any case, they did not intervene, which I think is a good thing. I think there's really no reason for the police to intervene unless you know, something of a clearly illegal nature happens, and it's certainly not my intention to do anything of a clearly illegal nature in the course of my protest, because I want to keep protesting, and I'm not into doing, you know, criminal stuff in any case. But what I'm saying is, even if I was tempted to do something of a criminal nature, it is more important to me to be able to continue to protest than to do some dumbass criminal thing that would prevent me from protesting. So that is that for Palm Sunday. And yes, just for fun, I think I might reimagine Palm Sunday as slap you hypocrites upside the head day. Again, we're speaking just in figurative terms here, talking about giving a good verbal slap to people who deserve a good verbal slap.